What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the latest Cosmic Crucible powerhouse, the Phoenix Force team. This squad brings an epic new version of Omega Red, along with a very long-awaited rework for Phoenix and some serious firepower to the battlefield. I'm going to break down everything you need to know about this team, their abilities, and how they fit into the current meta. And stick around until the end, because with Season 13 of Cosmic Crucible coming up right around the bend, I'm going to share my early thoughts on what I'm going to be setting up for defense for this season. So let's get into it. So we are going to open off with the question, who are the Phoenix Force? The Phoenix Force are a team that is going to be coming out very much like the Undying team. So they're going to be coming out around about the same time every year. So probably in January every year. And they will have a new member added each and every year. That member will be epic. So it will be vaulted exactly the same as Omega Red, Phoenix Force, and the current zombies are, along with Captain Britain. Although Captain Britain is a slightly different kettle of fish. But very much like the zombie releases for the Undying, the Phoenix Force epics will be very similar. And I'm hoping, because I thought this was a really good thing, that they keep it to doing these kiln towers, these escape from kilns, to get the character, because I think that is a really, really good method of getting epic characters, especially to a sort of workable star level at 4 stars. So kicking off our overview of the Phoenix Force, we are going to look at Phoenix and Dark Phoenix. This is the rework, a long awaited rework in my opinion. Her basic is Psychic Blast when she is in Phoenix mode and Immolation in Dark Phoenix. And literally the only difference between these two abilities is the fact that the Dark Phoenix ability, Immolation, attacks the primary and adjacent targets as opposed to just attacking the primary target from Psychic Blast. The T4 does exactly the same as well. It's going to add a 60% damage bonus, so that will make it 320% damage, clearing 2 positive effects, and then applying assist now to a random Omega Red Phoenix Force ally. Now, I don't think this is worth T4ing, and you will see that on the infographic later on. Moving on to her special, Bestow Light. This is the Phoenix special. It's going to apply stealth for 2 turns and defense up for 2 turns to all allies. It's going to heal all X-Men and Phoenix Force allies for 25% of this character's max health. And with the reworked stats, that is a lot of health. It's going to redistribute 25% of this character's max health from self to all allies, and all allies are then going to receive an additional 10,000 health, and that bypasses heal block. It's going to transfer all negative effects from all allies to self, so she's going to take everything on. If this character has 2 or more X-Men allies or an Omega Red Phoenix Force ally, attack the primary target for 320% damage. If this character has no allies, it's going to attack herself for 5,000% piercing. And if this character dies, their passive ability will trigger. And the T4 on this ability, with 2 or more X-Men allies or an Omega Red Phoenix Force ally, spread all negative effects, excluding stun and trauma, from this character to the primary target. With an Omega Red Phoenix Force ally, clear all negative effects from this character. So that is a pretty decent T4, if I do say so. I put that down as a high value T4. But what elevates this to an even higher value is when we look at Dark Phoenix and her special Vitality Drain. Now, this is going to steal 20% health from all enemies and redistribute it to herself. It's going to clear all ability block and bleed from self and all allies. That's amazing. It's going to apply regeneration for 2 turns to all X-Men and Phoenix Force allies, and then apply regeneration for 2 turns to all allies. And if this character Has an Omega Red Phoenix Force ally or 2 or more X-Men allies gain speed up for 2 turns. So there's where some of the speed is coming from. This attack ignores Death Proof and passives that trigger when a character drops below a certain health. So that will stop the Thanos endgame passive that happens. It will ignore that. So that is quite good. But here is the real gravy part of this, and this is why it is a very high value T4 in my opinion. In Crucible, which is obviously where these guys game mode is, revive a dead Omega Red Phoenix Force ally with 65% health. Clear all negative effects from a random Omega Red Phoenix Force ally. Fill speed bar by 50% of a random Omega Red Phoenix Force ally. And heal a random Omega Red Phoenix Force ally for 25% of this character's max health. That is absolutely huge and makes it such a worthwhile T4. Her ultimate, Phoenix Force, is going to attack the primary target for 400% damage and clear all positive effects. It's going to gain 50,000% extra focus for this attack, and this attack cannot be blocked or counterattacked. The T4 on this is going to clear all negative effects from self and all X-Men and Phoenix Force allies, and clear 2 negative effects from all other allies. Again, I would consider this quite a high value. It's a cleanse, and cleanses are needed certainly in fights like Cosmic Crucible. This does have a awakened ability, and in Crucible, if this character has an Omega Red Phoenix Force ally, apply trauma and ability block to the primary target. So that's really nice. And that makes it a high value T4 for definite. But when we look at going into Dark Phoenix, we have Phoenix Unleashed. And this is going to attack all enemies for 500% damage. That's huge. Clear 3 positive effects on each target. That is amazing. It's going to gain 50,000% extra focus again for this attack, and it is unavoidable. And the T4 on this is going to clear all positive effects on each target. So you're just literally going to wipe all those positive effects away unless they've got Safeguard. Apply heal block for 2 turns to all enemies. And if this character has an Omega Red Phoenix Force ally or 2 or more X-Men allies, it's going to generate 3 ability energy for her. And the awakened ability on this is if this character has an Omega Red Phoenix Force ally or 2 or more X-Men allies, it's going to generate 3 ability energy for a random Phoenix Force ally. Now, there are currently only 2 Phoenix Force allies, so that ability currently is basically saying as long as you've got Omega Red Phoenix Force ally and you do her ultimate in Dark Phoenix mode, it's going to generate 3 ability energy for Omega Red Phoenix Force. Makes this a very, very good T4. And finally, we have the passive Phoenix Rising. On spawn, apply defense up for 2 turns to self and all X-Men and Phoenix Force allies. That's really good. On death, it's going to summon the Dark Phoenix. Phoenix can't be revived. Cool. Whenever an ally gains taunt, that's not from an on-spawn passive ability. Gain taunt for 2 turns. X-Men allies gain plus 5% damage. Uncanny X-Men allies gain an additional 5% damage. X-Men allies gain 15% max health. And uncanny X-Men allies gain an additional 15% max health. Now, I thought they were taking these max health bonuses away, but the X-Men allies gaining additional max health on new stat meta X-Men characters like the Immortal X-Men, that could be quite big. And the T4 on this, X-Men allies are going to gain 10% damage. So again, more damage to the Uncanny X-Men if you are, or not the Uncanny X-Men, sorry, the Immortal X-Men if you're taking those. And Uncanny X-Men allies gain an additional 10% damage. And the Uncanny X-Men really are a team that have completely and utterly fallen off the edge of the cliff at the moment. The awakened ability on this in Crucible, if this character has an Omega Red Phoenix Force ally, this character and Omega Red Phoenix Force allies cannot gain stun. Very, very useful ability. And from the Ashes, this is the Dark Phoenix passive. On spawn, attack all enemies for 250% damage and apply defense down. This attack gains 5,000% extra focus. And the T4 on this is going to apply defense down for 2 turns rather than just the 1 turn. And on spawn, if this character has 4 or more allies with stealth, gain stealth. That's not such a big thing. But the awakened ability is huge. In Crucible, if this character has an Omega Red Phoenix Force ally, on spawn, it's going to clear exhausted from a random Omega Red Phoenix Force ally. And this tells you exactly what this team is meant to face. This team is meant to be for beating up Mephisto. Plain and simple, being able to clear exhausted from a random Omega Red Phoenix Force ally means that anything that is putting exhausted onto your team, aka Mephisto, it's going to get rid of it. And that is what this is all about. So now let's take a look at the main event, Omega Red Phoenix Force, and his basic Carbonadium Fire. This is going to attack the primary and adjacent targets for 200% piercing, apply bleed, and prolong the duration of all negative effects, except ability block, stun, and trauma by 1. Apply assist now to 1 random Phoenix or Dark Phoenix ally. That is fine. In Crucible, this attack ignores defense up. And the T4 on this is going to add an additional 50% damage. So that is going to do 250% piercing to the primary and secondary targets. And it's going to apply bleeds to the primary and adjacent targets. And if we were just looking at this, I probably wouldn't T4 this at all. This would be a non-T4. However, this is one of his abilities that is awakened, and the awakened ability says the following: in Crucible, the damage of this attack reduces the max health of targets by the same amount. And so that makes this a very nice to have T4, basically because not so much for Crucible as such, but for other game modes, possibly like Battle World or Towers, where we might be facing multiple enemies, and they've got Crucible rules attached. This will obviously trigger. Next up is his special Dark Phoenix Crush, and this ability was actually changed. Originally, it was not unavoidable, so that was a change that they added to this. This is going to apply offense up to self and a random Phoenix or Dark Phoenix ally. It's going to attack the primary target for 280% damage and apply trauma for 2 turns, bleed for 2 turns, and ability block for 1 turn. Chain to 4 adjacent enemies for 280% damage and apply bleed for 2 bleed for 2 turns. It's going to clear all negative effects and all vulnerable on self and all Phoenix and Dark Phoenix allies. It's going to fill the speed bar of a random Phoenix or Dark Phoenix ally by 50%. That's ace. If this character has a Phoenix or Dark Phoenix ally, gain 1,000% extra focus for this attack. This attack can change to stealth targets. That's really useful. Is unavoidable and cannot be blocked or counterattacked. Now, none of that is just in Crucible. The T4 on this, which I have put as a high value T4, is going to apply offense up for 2 turns. It is going to do an additional 70% damage. That makes that 350% damage to the primary and any secondary target. And in Crucible, it is going to reduce the duration of all positive effects on the primary target by 2. That is any positive effects, including Safeguard, which, because they haven't mentioned that Safeguard isn't there, so that must include Safeguard as well. Really good. A little bit not quite as good as Thanos Endgames, but still a very, very good ability. White Hot Onslaught. This is the ultimate for Omega Red Phoenix Force. It is going to flip 3 positive effects into negative effects on all enemies. Apply defense down, slow and bleed. It is going to attack all enemies for 300% damage. And in Crucible, it is going to steal 10% of this character's max health from each enemy and redistribute to self. And that will bypass heal block. And this attack is unavoidable. I've put this as a high value T4 because flipping all positive effects into negative effects, so you've already flipping 3, but to be able to flip all of the positive effects into negative effects on everyone and do the extra 100% damage, so that's 400% damage with the new stat meta, with the new stats, that is amazing. And again, like I said, a very high value T4. And the passive Death Incarnate, on enemy turn, it's going to steal 2% of this character's max health from all enemies and redistribute to self. This bypasses heal block. Awesome. Anything that any healing that bypasses heal block is amazing. On ally Phoenix or Dark Phoenix Death, transfer all negative effects except stun and trauma from this character to the most injured enemy and attack the enemy for 300% piercing. That is a huge amount of damage there. In Crucible, it is going to reduce the duration of all positive effects on that enemy by 2, and any positive effect that has a duration of 0 instantly expires, including Safeguard. On Spawn, it's going to apply Safeguard to self and a random Phoenix ally. And in Crucible, after all other characters on Spawn effects, apply Taunt for 2 turns to a random Protector ally that does not have Taunt. If this character does not have any Protector allies that gain Taunt from this passive, fill this character's speed bar by 20% instead. In Crucible, on enemy turn, he's going to gain plus 5% speed up to a maximum of 50%, and this does not stack with speed up. And if this character has any mythic enemies cannot have their max health increased through passive abilities. So again, another call out to the likes of Apocalypse. It is a call out to Mephisto, all of those characters. And enemies cannot have their max health increased through passives. That's amazing. And the T4 in this is going to, in Crucible, if this character has a Phoenix or Dark Phoenix ally, this character and all allies cannot gain trauma, and enemies cannot gain Safeguard. Boofing T4 essential. But wait, there's more, because this can be awakened as well. And in Crucible, it is going to lower the armor of enemies with bleed by 100%. So that effectively means that they are, well, all his attacks are effectively piercing, because piercing normally bypasses the armor. So if you are lowering the armor of enemies with bleed by 100% and they have no armor, then you're effectively doing piercing damage even on normal damage attacks. And in Crucible, lower the resistance of enemies with bleed by 50%. That is really quite good. Okay, so as promised, season 13 is upon us. It is going to start on Sunday, the 2nd of February. And I thought I would take this opportunity to let you guys know what I think of the room rules for season 13, and also what I'm going to be running certainly on week 1 and possibly most of the way through the Cosmic Crucible season, dependent on what comes out. So the base rules for Cosmic Crucible have not changed. So there is still the exhausted mechanic. Defending teams still get, I believe it's plus 20% damage and plus 10% health or something similar. But the room rules have obviously changed, as they always do in Cosmic Crucible. So in room 1, we have Hunting Sense, and on defense and offense, striker characters on a successful attack are going to apply bleed, and raider and skirmisher characters on a successful attack, if the target has bleed, are going to perform an ISO attack against that target. Now, I believe this is a bit of a non-go room, if that makes any sense. The room rules for this don't really matter too much, and so what I'm going to stick in here is the Odinati with a pre-taunt. So we have Captain Britain, Hank Pym, and Black Panther Shuri. We've got Sasquatch and then Odin. Now, if you haven't got Odin, I would say that putting just the Illuminati in here is absolutely fine. Would replace Odin probably with Mr. Fantastic. And at that point, you could also replace Sasquatch with either Black Bolt, or I have seen quite recently people putting Spider Weaver in. However, stage 2, we have Spec Op. We've had this one before on defense and offense. All characters on successful dodge gain stealth, and stealth characters gain 20% damage. And in this room, we are going to be running the Spider Society with Spider Weaver, which is why I wouldn't be able to do that in my, do the Illuminati version. If I didn't have the Odin, I would just run full Illuminati. So we have Ghost Spider here. She is the key part of this, and I see so many people take Ghost Spider out, but she is going to hand evade out to all hero Spider-Verse characters, which is going to give you that dodge straight away. It is an instant dodge, so instantly they're going to gain stealth, and she also up her dodge chance, so that is going to gain her stealth. She's going to gain 20% damage out of that. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when that's coming in on her retaliate attacks as well, that is pretty good. So this, I don't expect this to hold up at all, but it is trying to make the most of the room rules whilst having a team that is still okay. Stage 3, momentum on offense and defense. All characters with, all characters' special abilities cost 2 more ability energy. Their ultimate abilities cost 2 less. And when an enemy character dies, allied characters gain 1 ability energy. And in this room, I am going to be placing the 3-piece Annihilators in Gladiator, Ultimus, and Silver Surfer. We're going to have Spider-Man Pav, and we're going to complete that lineup with Super Scroll. So all of these characters should be able to open up with their ultimates, and hopefully this will catch people off guard. Obviously, with the 3 Annihilators here, that will stop any of the Cabal counters going into this. So this will require something like a Immortal X-Men to clear it, and if this pulls an Immortal X-Men, I am quite happy. Okay, so on to stage 4, and we have Resolve, and on defense and offense, all characters on death, all allies gain offense up, and on death, apply trauma to all enemies. So what am I going to put in this room? Well, I am going to put the 4-piece Orcus with Dormammu. Now, the reason for this is because whoever goes into this, they're going to kill the summon bot unless they use Kestrel. So this is going to force someone to have Kestrel on, well, you'll have Kestrel on offense anyway, but this will force someone to use Kestrel in here. All of these guys are going to have revive once. So this is really, really forcing your opponent to push Night Stalkers in here, and which is the perfect counter, in all honesty, but it would stop Night Stalkers from being able to be used with Mephisto on that Odinati team in room 1. Stage 5 is Resurrection Protocols, and this is another one that we have had before, and it is a very disappointing one. On defense and offense, mutant characters on spawn gain revive once and immunity. The revive once, however, on this, they revive with a very, very small sliver of health. But it's still worth putting the Extreme X-Men in here. So we've got Nightcrawler, Cyclops, Forge, Gambit, and Rogue. And finally, we have room 6, Charging Power. On defense and offense, all characters on spawn are going to generate 5 ultimate ability energy. That's going to be very tempting to use that ultimate ability energy for for yourself and your opponents going into you. But on an ultimate ability use, it is going to apply ability block to all allies. And so in this room, I am going to put the Superior 6, because Green Goblin Classic will basically stopped ability block from being applied to any of the superior 6 characters as long as he is charged. And so in my mind, this is great. This is going to allow all my superior 6 characters to open with their ultimates. They are going to suffer no problems at all, and quite possibly absolutely wreck house. Now, what am I going to put into offense here? Whatever I put into offense, I'm going to make it that I don't want to be using their ultimate abilities early doors. So none of those characters that I would instantly go, oh yeah, I'll open with their ultimate. That'll be how I will approach this charging power room. And that wraps up our look at the Phoenix 4 team, Omega Red's epic new version, and Phoenix's much needed rework. Plus, we've covered the new Cosmic Crucible rules and my early defensive setup thoughts. What do you think of Phoenix Force? Are they going to shake up your Crucible plans? Let me know in the comments, and also let me know in the comments what you're planning on using on defense in week 1 of Cosmic Crucible season 13. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more Marvel Strike Force content, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future updates. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay positive.